Manx Radio Sport.
A very good evening and welcome to the latest edition of Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio on this, wonderful sunny evening. I'm Rob Pritchard, here with you now until 6:30, taking a look at the latest sporting action this weekend. Coming up tonight, 8 remain to battle it out in the Hospital Cup in Manx football, with the quarter-finals of the competition to be held tomorrow in the latest round of fixtures. With TT 2023 just over 3 weeks away, we catch up with one of the local riders to hear about his hopes and ambitions for this year's races. And a popular athletics event is returning to the north of the island this weekend for the first time in 4 years. That is all to come this evening. Well, after another intense week, midweek I should say, of fixtures in Manx football as we start to reach the real business end of the Manx footballing season for 22-23, we have more games coming up this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and once again cup competitions taking centre stage on both days. For the first time this evening, we'll bring Tony Mepham into the conversation as we usually do. Tony, very good evening.
Good evening to you, Rob, and as you say, so many fixtures going ahead, it's hard to keep track of what competition we're looking at, but we're into Hospital Cup quarter-finals, Premier League still going, Div 2 still going. We've got the Women's FA Cup final next week, Cal Cup final, we know where we're going. We've got the Railway Cup draw tomorrow night, Rob. Draw. That was supposed to be done the first week.
We've been waiting a long old time for that, haven't we?
Yeah, that was the first week in November. That was supposed to be done, and the final was supposed to be on Boxing Day. So it just shows where we are with everything. And we've still got the Paul Henry Gold Cup to get done as well. So an awful lot of football still to play.
Very true. Well, I'll sort of ask you the same question I asked you last week. Just how does it feel, really, to, I suppose, be able to get a full midweek schedule of fixtures in, because the fixtures were piling up over the last few months, and seems to have had quite a fortunate run of getting these games in the bag, getting league seasons done. We're very close to the domestic season finishing, so has that been another bit of a reassurance to you this week that these games have all been able to go ahead? Yeah,
it's been excellent. I know we've lost a lot of games where teams haven't been able to field a full strength team, so they've called the games off. That's okay, that happens because we are into different sports now. We've got cricket going as well, but the main problem is venues, grounds, because Foxtel fell a little bit behind, and their pitch, Billy Goat, then there's an awful lot of games to play, but yeah, we're getting through them nicely. But the Railway Cup draw, and then we're going to try and sort a date out for the final. I think we're there on that one, and we're still going to be into that week just before TT starts, but there's nothing we can do, Rob.
Very well. Well, let's take a look at the weekend then. As Tony alluded to there are going to be a couple of changes this weekend as well. We'll come to those, but we'll start off on Saturday, and with arguably the headline, the Hospital Cup quarter-finals. 4 games taking place all at 2:30pm, and we'll start with one of the all-Premier League clashes, Mepham versus St John's, and there's a change of venue on this one, crucial, isn't there? Yeah,
there is. Just that transition of sports over the sort of winterish, if you like, to summer, and Mepham have lost their pitch now to cricket. But against St John's gladly said, yep, no problem, come and play at ours, which is fantastic. And St John's, great result for them midweek against Ayr United, as we're with Mepham. We know what they're capable of. David Brew's team there can sort of turn the style on when they need to, and they'll fancy their chances. But certainly St John's, with the players that they've got there, are hungry. They're still in the Railway Cup semi-finals. They've got the Hospital Cup quarter-finals here. They'd love to get in the semis there. They've had a good league run, to say they were promoted last year, and it's marvellous to just watch at this time of the season some really interesting and close games coming up, and certainly this one, Mepham against St John's, is going to be close. I think St John's might just edge it, but Mepham has certainly got the calibre of players there to win it.
Very well, and then in the north of the island, it's Ayr United. They're going to be hosting Division 2 Colby, who managed to edge past Castletown in that southern derby last weekend on penalties.
Yeah, it was, and I think the problem is with Colby is 1 or 2 players are going to be missing tomorrow for them, and Ayr United are a good side. They've still got, I wouldn't say all of the players from last season when they won the league, but a nucleus of the players are there, and they've got quality, score goals. Johnny Shields has been playing well, Harry Best as well, Nick Hurt, so it's looking strong for them. As we're with Colby, there'll be no Jordan Edge, he won't be available, and 1 or 2 others are going to be missing out as well, so you have to go for Ayr to go through into the semi-finals.
Very well, and then the third of the 4 Hospital Cup quarterfinals. Now, this really caught my eye when the draw was held. We've got Premier League Laxey. They're at home after beating the now Premier League champions Peel at home in the previous round, but they're going to be coming up against the newly crowned Division 2 champions St Mary's. I mean, Tony, how big a game could this be?
Well, it's huge, and it gives St Mary's a pointer as well, how tough it's going to be next season. And if I may, Rob, congratulations to St Mary's. They got their trophy awarded to them on Tuesday, and they overcame Michael with style, didn't they? You wouldn't want to be marking Owen Canepa.
A 9-1 victory.
Owen Canepa was 7. Absolutely amazing. There's not many players can score 7 during the season in one game, so well done, Owen. But Laxey have got good players in there as well, and they really have sort of gelled better, I think, over the last sort of 2 or 3 games. And Johnny Palmer, I'm pretty certain, will not take this as a win. He knows that, OK, it's a Division 2 side, but he wants the best from their players. And I think Johnny's done a really good job this season, because it looked good for them at the start, and then it all went a little bit funny in the middle. And towards the end, knocking out Peel, that takes some doing, because I watched them the other night. They're a really good team. But I think with the players that they've got up front, Brodie Patience, Ethan Hawley and others in there can score goals. Defensively, they look strong. And I think Glenn Walker will be back in goal with the number 1 jersey. So I have to go for Laxey to beat St Mary's. But St Mary's, again, they'll want to prove that they're worthy of promotion, and they want to stake a claim and show how good they're going to be next season in that Canada Life Premier League.
Interesting one to keep an eye on. And then making up the final game in the Hospital Cup quarter-finals, it's a South versus North clash. It'll be Russian United, and they're going to be at home to Ramsey, who knocked out Corinthians last week.
Yeah, they did, and by the sound of it, Corinthians just found it a real struggle with them. I went down to Ramsey to watch or make sure that Peel got their trophy, and Ramsey did really well against them. I know they gave away some soft goals, so that needs to be addressed, but I'm certain that Andy Cooper there will sort that one out. But I just thought all round they look really good. Jamie Corlett's been an asset coming in at the back. Midfield, they work hard. And then up front, Chris Duggan had 2 or 3 really good chances in front of goal. One cracking free kick. And when Darren Tartar came off the bench, he looked really good. This is going to be really close. Last week when the draw was made, I thought, I'm going to go for Russian here because I watched them the week before. But after seeing Ramsey on Tuesday, I'm just going to swing it towards Ramsey, because I think Charlie Higgins will come into that squad. And when you've got James Rice in there as well, you've got Jamie Corlett, you've got a good bunch of quality coming into that team, which will just help them. I'm going to go for Ramsey just to take it.
Just on the subject of Russian, I was at the game where they played Douglas High School Old Boys at Blackberry Lane in midweek, and although you could argue it maybe wasn't their best performance, they got the job done, so that shows a bit more character as well, doesn't it? Well,
it does, and they've got players who've come back in, and last week it was Dean Kearns who'd come into the team, Mikey Williams as well. Mikey can score, can defend, he can play any position he wants. But Fura Davies is still loitering around there. So the big decision for them, because only 2 of those 3 can play tomorrow. So I don't know how they'll work that one. But no, against Old Boys, they were battling for their life every single point they could get, Rob. And they put in a good shift, but it was Russian supremacy that showed through at the end. And 1 or 2 of the younger players that have been playing for Russian have looked really good towards the end of the season.
Very well. Well, there are a handful of league games taking place tomorrow as well, towards the last few games, the very last few games across the different divisions. 2 games in the Canada Life Men's Premier League tomorrow, also kicking off at 2:30pm. We have St George's versus Onken and Corinthians versus Douglas Royal. Yeah,
look at St George's first, and when you look at their team sheet midweek, it was a good team. There's a lot of good players back in there, and you can see why they had that good result. Against Onken, they're another team who are looking for every single point they can get. It's still mathematically possible for them to stay up. So I've got to go for St George's. I just think there's too much quality in that team at the moment. And Corinthians against Douglas Royal, always a good battle between the 2 teams. I watched Douglas Royal last week, and it was tough going for them. But certainly Corinthians made a mess of it, to be fair, I think, against Ramsey, because they had a good, strong team out. But I'm going to go for Corinthians, just take the result.
Very well. There were 3 games down for DPS Limited Division 2 tomorrow at 2:30. Gyms versus Castletown, that's been awarded as an away win to Castletown. We know that for a fact. And Foxdale versus Governors Athletic is also off. So there's just 1 game, Braddon versus Douglas and District.
And it's a big important game as well, because if you look at the league table there, Rob, Div 2, it's nice and tight, isn't it? Yes, St Mary's have won it, but St Mary's is gone now. They're finished. But when you look at Michael, you've got Braddon in there. It's a big, big game for them, and I think Braddon will win it against Douglas and District. They've gone off the boil a little bit towards the end of the season, so going for Braddon to win.
Very well, and there were 2 games in Canada Life Combination 1 as well at the same time. That's now down to 1 because Onken versus Union Mills, that has been awarded as a home win to Onken already before the weekend starts. The only other game we have is Douglas High School Old Boys versus Laxey.
Yeah, and this is just a tidying up process. Old Boys struggled midweek, I think it was, to get a team out, but hopefully they've got a team tomorrow. And against Laxey, I just think they'll find it a little bit difficult against the young team of Laxey, but it depends how many Old Boys first team players didn't play in the last first team game and can come in. Not too sure on that one, Rob, but go for Laxey.
Very well. Then we move into Sunday, and it's all about the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup. We have 4 games, but 3 games at a stage ahead in the competition compared to one of them. So we'll start with the one that's a bit further behind. It's a game rearranged from the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup first round. 2 o'clock kick-off these games on Sunday, so that's a 2 o'clock, not 2:30, 2 o'clock. And the Junior Cup first round game is Braddon versus Morown. Yeah,
and this one was cancelled with that rain that came down last weekend, so they couldn't get the pitch fit ready to play. But I'm going to go for Morown to win. I think the division that they play in above, they've proved themselves Combi 1, as where Braddon, most of the players are Combination 2, so that's why I've gone for Morown to win that.
And the other 3 games, they are the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup quarterfinals that are taking place. 3 games there?
Yeah, and Ramsey Corinthians, I'm going to go for Corinthians just to win it. There's 1 or 2 sort of good young players who've come through and done really well towards the end of the season. So Corinthians to win. St John's against Colby. There's no messing with St John's at the moment. They're still looking to finish, I think it's second in that Combination 1, but I expect St John's to beat Colby. And St Mary's against Rushen. Wow. You've got St Mary's, who are champions in Combination 2, Russian champions in Combination 1. I've seen St Mary's Combi, reasonable team, but Russian, it's like a first team there, to be honest with you, and I expect Russian to take victory and go into the semi-finals of the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup.
And just very quickly to point out, this week, Russian United, they were awarded 3 points in their game in midweek, but that is a perfect season. 22 wins from all 22 league games. That's extraordinary.
Well, it is, and it's fantastic by them because it takes a lot to do to keep that consistency going. You can see why. They've got good young players in there, experienced players. Aaron Hawley slipped back into the squad to help them. 1 or 2 of the younger players have stepped up to the first team, and yeah, they've done it. Well done.
Well, Tony, thank you very much once again. Tony will be joining us on Saturday Sport Classified from 5 p.m. tomorrow here on Manx Radio, where we'll also have the draw for the Railway Cup as well as part of the results. So please do join us then. OK, now we move on to motorsport, and just 24 days now until the TT races return to the Isle of Man for 2023, and excitement is building amongst fans and racers alike. One of those heading out onto the Snaefell Mountain course will be local man Michael Evans in what will be his second TT campaign. Last year, the 2017 double MGP winner bagged his first top 10 finish in the Super Twin race. So what are his hopes and goals for this year? Well, I recently caught up with the Santon rider to find out how his preparations are going.
I've just been kind of doing as much riding as I can, really, and kind of working on the bike and getting everything sorted for short circuits and also TT and Northwest. There's a few different things that you need on the bikes for the TT especially, but also the Northwest, and trying to find setups and gearing, and there's lots going on.
Different aspect this year. You've got your own machine this year as well. So what are the sort of things that's thrown up in terms of jobs to do and what you've got to prepare?
It's keeping on top of it. Try and make the whole operation look as good as possible and run as good as possible. Keeping everything clean. Sometimes takes a lot longer than what you think, and making sure you've all the bits of your bike are running properly and everything's tight, everything's kind of up to scratch, and there's no damage anywhere. There's nothing that's going to cause any damage anywhere. Having all your spares ready, tyres, wheels. Yeah, there's just, it's kind of an endless list of things that you need to keep on top of so that nothing goes wrong when you really need it.
There are certain things you don't know until you're actually out on the bike and getting some good laps and good miles in, but the fact that you've already started that process, even though there might be things that come up, how important is it that you're just learning about the machine constantly, just going into TT in a few weeks?
Yeah, it's really important. Sometimes it's better to just kind of jump into a situation, force yourself into the situation to make yourself learn about the bike, and different things. For instance, BSB might be not a step too far, but it's somewhere where you need to really be at 100%, and it's sometimes hard to be 100% when you're not overly familiar with the bike or something like that. But if you just do it and force yourself in, you force yourself to learn, rather than taking things slowly, and it's a good thing to do that before TT.
Do just in general going into the TT, because obviously it came back last year after a big 3-year break. I think everyone was in different places with their preparation for it. The fact that you've now got a full calendar with more events coming out of, say, the pandemic, how's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, last year going into the TT, I was in a bit of a different position in general for various reasons, but this year I feel like I've had kind of a more of a normal pre-season and a bit of a good few weeks and a bit of testing to kind of get things. Last year I kind of stepped into it and it seemed like I was just okay, a lot of things going on and then I'll just do TT, whereas now this year I feel like I've kind of made good foundations before the TT for myself, so I'll have somewhere strong to start with.
Everyone looks forward to it. I think it's fair to say, I don't think you'll find anyone on the grid who doesn't enjoy being at the TT and the prospect of being there. For you, does that feeling ever get old?
No, it doesn't get old at all. I mean, you kind of have the winter, and you don't forget about it at all. But it'll come round, and you kind of think, you start thinking, I'll just have random days or moments, and I just think I'm actually doing the TT. I'm going to be doing the TT in June. It's still kind of surreal for me to think that I do the TT. Sometimes, and I just have days where I'm just like so happy, and I just think this is just amazing. What
are your, I guess, objectives for TT this year? Everyone has their own, whether it's big or small little things that they want to get right. I mean, is there anything in particular you've earmarked from your side of things?
I think, personally, I think at the TT, it's any sort of improvement, however small. I think you've got to take it. It's not the sort of thing that you can tell somebody or expect to make a huge jump. Obviously, I go racing to win. But you obviously have to understand what level you're at with your machinery and setup and all that kind of thing. So I think any sort of improvement, and that doesn't necessarily have to be speed. If it's something that you learn, about your bike, or you learn even about the track, or you feel safer, or you get some sort of a setup. If it's a step forward in any sort of direction, that's kind of the main goal, because it's kind of a longer term, it's kind of long process that, even though it's only once a year and everybody just wants to make a big step and, be the quickest. Sometimes I think taking a small step, a few years to make small steps ends up, you can put yourself in a good position at the end of it.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally tonight we take a look at athletics, and this weekend sees the comeback of a popular island event for the first time in 4 years. The Northern 10 Road Race returns to Ramsey this Sunday morning in what will incidentally also mark 40 years since the competition first began in 1983. So after an extended break without the event, how will it look? I spoke to organiser Sarah Webster from the host club, Northern AC.
We actually have 2 races. We have the walk, which goes off at 8, and then the runners set off at 9 o'clock. It's 10 miles. They basically head out of Ramsey along the Lazaire Road, turn right, head along to St Jude's, and then right along the Derby Road and back into Ramsey, and then round onto Morag Prom and finish through the park at the Balaclone Stadium.
Now, of course, this will be the first time in 4 years that this event has been held. It wasn't held in 2020 and 2021 because of the pandemic, and then 2022, just logistically, it wasn't able to happen. So the fact that it is able to come back and be a part of the athletics calendar this year, how good does that feel?
Yeah, it's been tough, but yeah, as a team, we've got it together, and fingers crossed, we have enough marshals and we have competitors entered, and hopefully the weather will hold and it'll be a nice event.
This isn't just for events in the north of the island, but the island in general. Sometimes it is a bit of a challenge getting enough marshals to do these events. Has it been a challenge this time, or has it been relatively straightforward?
I think people have been fantastic to volunteer. I had a bright idea which didn't work, which was basically that if every competitor nominated a marshal, we would have more than we needed, which meant people didn't have to hang around for the whole event. They could just do the walk or just do the run. Unfortunately, most running and walking families or have at least one member who was already walking and the other one is busy doing something else. Either they're walking, running, looking after the kids. So my idea didn't work. but fingers crossed, we have enough volunteers who have stepped up and should be able to go ahead. And just massive thank you to everybody who stepped up and volunteered.
And for those who are actually involved, I mean, historically, it's always been a high calibre field that's taken part in this event, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've got people using it as prep for the Island Games and other events. In the walk, we've got Adam Cowan and Erica Kelly. I know Erica is targeting a 20k race 2 weeks' time, so this is absolutely ideal prep for her. And then Ollie Lockley, okay, he's just run a marathon, but he's amazing. And yeah, he's coming back. Other people are using it as just a training run for the half. We've got obviously the No Rest for the Wicked series in August on Ireland. So that's, again, another excellent prep for that. And it's just a flat 10 miles. 10 miles isn't a common distance that's run. Mostly it's half marathons and 10k, so it's always nice to get a PB over a different distance, and ours is the flattest on the island, so we can claim that bit of fame. You want the hills, you get the Western 10 in September, but ours is the flattest.
Some are using this as, say, preparation for the Island Games. You mentioned Erica Kelly there, preparation for a race walking event she'll have coming up as well. So the fact that we seem to have a steady stream of different athletics events in so many different disciplines between, say, now and the Island Games coming up, that must be really encouraging for the Isle of Man athletes, knowing that there's plenty of options there to, A, look for maybe even success in this particular event, and also looking forward as well to the international competition in a few months' time.
Yeah, obviously we've got the Northern 10 for the half marathon runners for the Island Games on the track. They're Petra and the Isle of Man athletics team have been put together. We've got league matches. A lot of them are going across to the Manx track and field championships. The Northern League is a massive opportunity, particularly for the relay teams, to practice their relay skills under competition nerves and conditions, because it's a heck of a difference running a relay in a real race than it is practicing.
For this, just as an event to take part in and spectate in, as an atmosphere, what's it like?
I hope they're very friendly in the north, and we will welcome everybody. Yeah, I hope there's going to be a good atmosphere. In a way, it would have been lovely if we'd had more competitors. I mean, the marshals are always great. They're always cheering you on round the course, which is really lovely. The scenery is spectacular.
Manx Radio Sport.
That's all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week on Manx Radio. Many thanks to my guests this week, Tony Mepham, Michael Evans and Sarah Webster. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening, whatever you're doing, and have a wonderful weekend as well. Chris Kinley is here with you next, but from me until next time, it's bye for now.